Really quickly, do you have any reaction to the thought that all of the fairness questions that are coming up in this case could actually be taken care of in the due process realm? So what I mean is that we have this the fairness questions about whether the government should have taken personal property, Michigan government, personal property before the House. That's one set of issues. Whether the Michigan government conducted a fair auction. You all are accounting for that in the context of the just compensation evaluation, but I suppose you could say just compensation is the amount that is generated at auction minus the tax bill, which is what we're calling the excess proceeds. To the extent that your argument is that they didn't do enough with respect to the auction, what you're really complaining about is what Michigan law says about the process. And we have a whole set of cases and ways to evaluate whether, as a constitutional matter, the government is giving you adequate process. So it takes care, I think, of like some of the concerns about, well, how do we do this, and figuring out whether it's fair enough. We have a rubric when we look at federal and state laws and they're giving process to people in a context. We say, as a constitutional matter, is this procedure comporting with due process? So what is your reaction to treating it like that, in which case we would affirm, because the Sixth Circuit is doing the takings part of this, just compensation equals excess proceeds, and leave open the idea that there could be another lawsuit by this very plaintiff claiming a due process problem?
I don't think we have any real objection to putting the fairness of the sale under the heading of procedural due process.
Yes.
I think what matters most to us is getting the contours of that rule right, and I think whether it's viewed as procedural due process or a function of the just compensation clause, it's still going to look at the same legal materials. It's still going to look to the nation's history and tradition.
Absolutely. But it just helps that we already have a way of thinking about whether state laws are giving people adequate process. It seems like, you know, to kind of import that here seems to be difficult, and that's what a lot of people are reacting to.
Well, I guess all I would say is there's, I think, a common sense intuition that if a sale is rigged or there's collusion in the sale, that what results from that sale isn't really just compensation.
Sure, but the state law is doing that, and we can evaluate whether the state law's process is generating artificially unfair, depressed auction prices under the rubric of, are they giving you adequate process?
That's right. And the only thing I would really push back on, though, is the idea that some of these other rules about the government's authority to foreclose and what it can foreclose on, I don't think there's a home for those rules under the rubric of, I think it would have to be substantive due process.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.